can't expect to run the ball across the line of scrimmage and pick up 15 to 20 yards. And that's what makes Russell Wilson fun. Watching Russell Wilson fun, the way he can dance in the pocket, you think he's going to throw the football, and all of a sudden he's seeing plenty of green in front of him and is rushing for first down yardage. Nash, you can't do that 10 years from now because you're going to be older, you're going to lose your athleticism, and that's where your football wits have to come into being.
You're right, and I think that Russell Wilson and Cam Newton actually have a ton of them. But with that, we got to go to break, so we'll come back shortly thereafter. Guys, the phone lines will be open after break as you are listening to Jock Journal Radio.
Finally, can we take a moment and stop listening to these idiots long enough to get the Cars for Kids jungle stuck in my head?
Cars for Kids, KARS Cards for Kids, 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids, KARS Cars for Kids, 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Also on the web at carsforkids.com. That's Cars with a K. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a free vacation voucher of 3 days and 2 nights.
1-877 Cars for Kids, KARS Cars for Kids, 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Are you looking for the web's best sports news? Visit jockjournal.com. Sports media has lost its touch. It seems that journalists are scared to report what they see, in fear of losing access to the teams they cover. At jockjournal.com, you get inside information on the entire NFL community without all the politics or fears other writers have. That's jockjournal.com. When you need the NFL sports news, information, opinions, fantasy football, or discussions, there is only one place to go, and it's jockjournal.com.
You are listening to Jock Journal Radio. News, opinion, and discussion for all you jock stars.
Support for this show comes from Material. Material is a simple and intuitive e-commerce platform that lets you get your online store started without paying a dime. That's right. No ads, no setup costs, no transaction fees. Experience a fresh and easy new way to sell online by signing up at material.com today.
Okay, we're back. I had to surf porn and post my pics on an adult website.
Okay, we're back. I'm having a few moments. I have to get Mr. Frank Sprinkle back with us. We had to switch some things out so we could begin taking phone calls, but he's going to be connecting with me here in just a moment. And when Frank gets back on with us, which I think he is now,
To go.
there he is. Okay, so we're gonna take a call here from Mr. Nick Harding here in a few moments. He is also of Jock Journal Radio, who is going to be discussing with us. He's our Australian correspondent. He is Nick Harding of Australia, Jock Journal. He's our foreign correspondent. How you doing today, Nick?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
Doing
Nick.
well. Doing well.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you, buddy.
Thank you. Same to you guys.
Nick, tell us about this article you wrote.
Well, I've just been thinking about Peyton Manning. As you know, he's a great quarterback. Some would say the greatest. Some, I heard you before talking about Tom Brady, saying that he's pretty much, not flavour of the month, but flavour of the millennium probably. But look, I think we've just about seen the end of Peyton, unfortunately. I think that, when I say seen the end of him on the playing field, I think that Brocco is looking pretty good. He's struggled a little bit. He's started with a flash, and unfortunately, the last 3 games, he hasn't done much in the second half of each game. But I think he's shown enough to be the future of the Broncos, and I think that it might be time for Peyton to move on. And what I'm thinking is that we've seen the blueprint in with the Broncos already. They've got a champion quarterback who is heading up the organisation or the operational side of the organisation, and I think that Peyton could probably do the same thing elsewhere. And I'm actually thinking that he could be a general manager down with the Browns.
Well, with the Cleveland Browns, oh my goodness. So you can see, because that's the thing about Peyton Manning, Nick, is that a lot of people will be thinking, oh my goodness, what's he going to do? And I think he's leaning toward coaching. I think he wants to be more involved in the game as a quarterback's coach or an offensive coordinator. But then again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Nick, let me ask you this. Okay, we know about the Denver Broncos heading toward the playoffs, and you're speaking a lot of praise here about Brock Osweiler, and he's definitely done a fine job. But come playoff time, the Denver Broncos with a healthy Peyton Manning are going to be left in the decision. Peyton Manning or Brock Osweiler? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Well, I suppose experience against a pretty good quarterback this season.
Yeah, and it probably depends on who they're playing against. I mean, do they want a quarterback who's basically going to be locked in the pocket all the time in Manning, or do they want a quarterback who can potentially break out occasionally and use his legs in Brock O? So it's basically probably depends on the team they're playing.
Nick, one of the things I was thinking is that if there's ever a person who can transition perfectly to being an offensive coordinator or at least a quarterback coach, literally sign in one day as a quarterback and then go straight to the sidelines and become a field general of a particular team as like a regular assistant or even a full-blown offensive coordinator, it would be Peyton Manning. Do we see something like that happening with Peyton Manning where he doesn't have to go the route other people did and cut his teeth in college and all the other stuff? I mean, he's basically been an offensive coordinator on the field for so long. Definitely. Is this in his career path?
I think it is, but I don't know if he even wants to go down the path of offensive coordinator. Would he be able to step straight into a head coach role? He is that switched on, he is that determined, and he's that focused when he plays. I reckon those sort of attributes will count towards him doing that sort of thing as a head coach. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a player underneath him. Could you imagine what would happen if you did something wrong?
But that makes Peyton Manning great. Peyton Manning, Nick, if you take a look at really the last 20 years of the National Football League, there have been two of the best motivators, two of the best leaders on the field. One of them is retired and is in New Orleans working for ESPN tonight, and that's Ray Lewis from a defensive standpoint.
Yep.
The other from the offensive standpoint has been Peyton Manning. Listen, Peyton Manning has used the yelling, has used getting in your face at times. We saw that with Jeff Saturday in a Monday night game 10 years ago against the Rams in the old RCA Dome. Peyton Manning uses it for motivation, and it works. One thing about Peyton Manning, we know he's going to prepare. We know he's going to be ready to go. He just expects you to be as prepared as he is.
True. He's very single-minded and very focused, and that's probably the one thing that will count against him. If a player doesn't show the same type of dedication and attitude that Peyton has, is he going to stand for that?
Let me ask you this, Nick. You said, talking about post-Peyton Manning here, as far as his career goes, and that's what we have to look at here. I mean, he is up there. He's not really as accurate as he used to be. You mentioned general manager of the Cleveland Browns, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Why the Cleveland Browns here? Because, let me ask you first, why the Cleveland Browns?
Well, they've been the laughing stock of the NFL for the last 20 or more years, yeah? You guys were talking about Russell Wilson before. Russell Wilson has won as many games since he's been in the league as the Browns have in the last 20 years.
Let me ask you this. What about Johnny Manziel? They got the first-round pick of last year, a guy that draws a lot of attention, certainly to himself, in Johnny Manziel, and he's had his issues even this year, a couple months ago, with him and his girlfriend. How great would it be? Picture this. Maybe not necessarily as general manager, but maybe as a quarterback's coach, as an offensive coordinator, to have Peyton Manning in with the Cleveland Browns, as you're wishing here, but in a coaching capacity, working with somebody such as Johnny Manziel and potentially straightening up his butt.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I reckon Johnny would crap his decks every weekend. He'd be
Well, too bad. Too bad, Johnny. You want to be a great quarterback in the league? Learn from the best. Too bad.
Exactly.
Hold on. Say that again in that wonderful Australian accent. Crapping his what?
Crap his decks.
What? I am so gonna need to cut that out and make that a little sound clip and play that from time to time when Matt says something completely insane. That is awesome. So one more thing for you, Nick, and then we're gonna let you go because we gotta recap this whole thing for Week 15. But what do you believe is the Denver Broncos? I guess mission with him at this point. From my understanding, he has at least one more year on his contract. Is this going to be a case of, look, we have to decide what to do with you. You either get to go gracefully or we get to release you. Is that going to be a conversation that begins to happen eventually?
Look, I'm sure it will be. I mean, the one thing about great champions is you want to see them go out on a high, and of course, you don't want to see them staying too long and tarnishing their reputation. I would love to see him go out on a high on his terms, not on the back office or the head office terms. And I'd like him to go where he wants to go and do what he wants to do, because I think he deserves it. He's earned the right. He's got the respect of not only Denver, not only his former club, but I think the whole NFL and 98% of supporters. They would love to see him go out on a high and do what he wants to do rather than being forced out.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I see it too. I think that everybody's kind of hoping that he goes this year because we just don't want to see his reputation tarnished as, one of the greats who just hung around too long in this case. But with that...
Yeah, well, I think back to Brett Favre. He potentially, he might have stayed this season or two too long, but, he was a bit of a laughing stock of people saying, he's going to go for another year or he's coming out of retirement again, sort of thing. I'd hate to see that happen with Peyton.
It still might happen. I think people are thinking Brett Favre might come out of retirement this year. No, with that, I think we really appreciate having you here, Nick. If you could go ahead and tell everybody where people can find you if they'd like to hear more about what you're writing.
Yeah, sure. ShockJournal.com.
All right.
Great little organisation.
Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Speak to you shortly.
Happy holidays.
So, Frank, that was Nick Harding of JockJournal.com,
yes.
and he's actually in our he's one of the founding fathers of JockJournal.com. He really is. Him, me, and a couple of other guys from a fantasy football league. We sat all off season because we do dynasty leagues where we keep all of our players from one year to the next. We sat in a chat room all season just arguing with each other, and that's how Jock Journal was honestly born. I'm not joking. It's a true story. It's exactly the way it is, and he was one of our founding fathers. He's an Australian correspondent, and I've been playing fantasy football with him for the last 3 years and really enjoy him. He's a class act, great guy. So Frank, we got to cover some of these games, and just so you know, everybody out there in Radioland, Detroit currently is winning 28-10 over the New Orleans Saints with 23 seconds left to go in the third quarter. So we don't have enough time to go over each and every single game. We only have 15 minutes left to go in this show.
Yeah, some games I don't think are worth going over.
They really
aren't. No playoff contentions. These are the Ethiopia games. You got games in London. Well, guess what? Let's give Ethiopia some. Tonight's game, Lions and Saints, that would have been a great Ethiopia game.
It would have. It really would have. One game I do want to go over, though, is the New York Jets versus the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys basically kicked out of the playoff contention, and the New York Jets are looking good and looking strong as they were able to squeak out a win on the road in Dallas with a hungry Dallas Cowboy team. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he looks goofy to me, but he's a brilliant individual.
About the beard and all. And
yes.
The look. I wouldn't want that look. But, hey, the guy can play quarterback a lot better than I can.
Yeah, to me, as a quarterback, and this is going to sound like I'm not giving him a compliment, but he reminds me a lot of a Chad Pennington or a John Kitna or a Kirk Cousins in this matter. Not one of those type of guys who will ever be elite, as he doesn't have that super